Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Yo, you know how we do. This ain't no zoo, but we wildin' out like Lions crew. One ass cheek, 3 toes. That's the motto. Oac3T Podcast. Let's get to it pronto. Golf slinging that pitch, getting tight, spiral in the air. St. Brown making moves, leaving defenders in despair. Monty running through the D, breaking tackles all the way. Hutch on the hunt, ain't no escaping the day. One ass cheek, 3 toes. We coming for the throne. Detroit Lions roar, ain't no stopping our zone. From Ford Field to the streets, we represent the pride. One ass cheek, 3 toes. We on the ride.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the One Ass Cheek and 3 Toes show. I am your host, Nate the Great, and I got my 2 co-hosts here, Mr. Jay and B. Strella. Fellas, how you doing?
What up, Doe?
Great, man.
What up, Doe?
Great.
Hey.
Enjoying these dog days of the summer, man.
I know, right? Y'all ready for football? Can't come sooner, right?
Yeah, 10 more weeks.
You know you're ready for football when you read an article and you just get like chills. Like, oh, man, can't wait. Let's go. All right. Well, we got a good show today, man. We're going to be talking a lot about coaches today. We got some fun we're going to have with some of the NFL coaches. We're going to start off with Jay. Jay, your session.
Oh, okay. We hopping right into it. Okay.
Yeah,
let's get
I mean,
so,
we don't really have anything else to go talk about. So.
No, I got you. So I'm pretty sure everybody's seen PFF's coaching rankings and who they rank number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So I'm going to give my top 10, and not my top 10, but PFF's top 10. Right now,
go ahead and give us the top 10 PFF. Correct.
Andy Reid at number 1, Kansas City. Anybody have a problem with that? I don't think so, right? He's been at 3 consecutive Super Bowls. He's won 3 within the past 5 years.
Just read them all. Read them all the way down, Jay, and then we'll break it down.
Yeah, I got you. So Andy Reid at number 1, Sean Payton at 2, surprising. At number 3, they got Sean McVay from the Los Angeles Rams. 4, you got John Harbaugh. 5, Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers. 6, Jim Harbaugh, Los Angeles Chargers. 7, Kyle Shanahan, surprising. 8, Sirianni coming off of a Super Bowl victory this year. And 9, our very own Dan Campbell with the Detroit Lions. And 10, Kevin Stefanski, the Cleveland Browns.
All right.
So that is a bit surprising to me because I thought Nick Sirianni would be a little bit higher considering he's made 2 Super Bowls and won 1 recently. Even though
I disagree with that completely, but go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I was just going to say I think Nick Sirianni may be a better head coach considering, he had to tear things down a little bit. There was a lot of dysfunction in their locker room. Still made it to the Super Bowl and won convincingly. And, that's very hard to do because there's certain teams that can't even make a Super Bowl. So, I give Nick Sirianni a little bit of credit. Even though he has a punchable face and nobody likes him, I still
Nate's words.
He does have a punchable face, man. The guy looks like he's drunk half the time.
I don't like Sirianni, man. I don't think that's who likes Sirianni? Can anybody name
big Eagle fan?
I don't have no problem for him.
Some Eagle fans don't even like him too.
I don't have no problem.
Fans like him.
He's very polarizing. Like one day he looks like the hero of the city, and the next day he's yelling at fans and cursing at fans. So who knows?
Yeah, man. Come on now.
He's a typical Italian. Go figure.
Yeah, man. Oh,
sorry.
God, I can't agree with that. Okay.
I'm just saying, man. If you ever met an Italian, you know what I'm talking about, man. They're bipolar as hell, man. They're good people, but you piss them off, they'll try to kill you.
Oh my goodness. So what I wanted to do really quick is I want to give my top 10 coaches, and if anybody feels free to jump in if they want to give their top 10 and however it may be. At number 1, obviously, I think it's Andy Reid. I don't think anybody should have a problem with that. He's been to the most Super Bowl of any active head coach right now and won 3 of them. At number 2, I'd have to say maybe John Harbaugh from the Baltimore Ravens. Why? I know.
Okay. I think I was going to go Jim. I was like, no.
No, John. The reason why I say that is that I know that Lamar Jackson chokes in the playoffs, but they are a powerhouse.
That's not his fault, dude. That's not his fault.
Single year. They are a powerhouse. And I think that they are a bit underrated. I know that we don't really count on them getting into the Super Bowl, but they can tear.
I have John Harbaugh. I have John Harbaugh number 2 too.
I got number 2.
He's legit.
This is going to be a surprise to you guys. But at number 3, I have I just had his name in a Nick Sirianni. Number 3.
No. Hell no.
Hell
no.
Hear me out, Nate. The reason why I have Nick Sirianni at number 3 is because he replaced his coordinators. They had dysfunction in the locker room. He pressed the front office about going out getting more talent, especially going out getting Saquon Barkley, coming in off of free agency, and that worked out great for that team. So at number 3,
they were gifted Saquon Barkley, is what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, but
they were, dude. They were literally.
There's a big role in that as well because Nick Sirianni, like I said, Super Bowls, dysfunction, and we really don't see a lot of that. But
let me ask you.
Moving on.
Well,
go ahead.
Let me poke that question real quick. Let me ask you this: if Jalen Hurts goes down, okay, how many wins does the Eagles have for the season?
I would say maybe 7-8 wins, because Jalen Hurts is very important to that team, just like how Jared Goff is very important to our team.
So you think they're about maybe 5 games less than without their quarterback?
Agreed. Yeah. Good afternoon, Sonya. How you doing?
Okay.
I think Jalen Hurts
is
worth that. And reason being, like I said, is because Jalen Hurts, I know a lot of people don't consider him elite, but he fits into that offense to where he is elite. He's effective. He's able to extend plays. He doesn't get sacked a ton. So I know a lot of that is offensive line, but he's a good general on the field. So
go ahead down your list. We'll debate.
So at number 5, did I get 4? No, I didn't get 4.
No, you did 4.
At number 4, I got Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan. The reason being is because Kyle Shanahan, they just it's like a assembly line, like a conveyor belt. They bring in talent, lose talent, bring in talent, and they still are managing to get to the NFC Championship game. They can get to a Super Bowl. But Kyle Shanahan, he learned a lot. He doesn't have to be the most effective play caller, but he knows where to put pieces, and I respect Shanahan for that.
Okay.
At number 5, I got Mike Tomlin. And the reason I put Mike Tomlin a little higher is because how long has he been the head coach of the Steelers?
I struggle with Mike Tomlin.
For
like 20-something years.
20 years, yeah. 22 years, something like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I struggled with him, and I'll tell you why to put him in my list.
Sure.
Go ahead,
and the reason why I put him there is because he's never had a losing season. Never.
Okay.
Never. No losing season. If you can go literally 20-something seasons and you don't have at least one where you lose 10 games, you lose 9 games, and then they added on the next, the extra game, and you don't have a losing season? That's
a fair argument. I agree with you there. Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Why
ahead.
you struggle with that?
I'll tell you in a few. But go ahead and finish your list.
Okay. At 6, I have Jim Harbaugh. Whoa, Jim Harbaugh, Los Angeles Chargers. And the reason why I have Jim Harbaugh at 6 is because, he's made it to a Super Bowl in the past. We know what he's capable of doing. And I know he came in with a lot of talent when he went to the Chargers, but the Chargers were a bit dysfunctional. They didn't know where to put. Only player you knew you had for sure that was good was Justin Herbert. Everybody else were question marks. You didn't know what you wanted to do, but he kind of brought that tough ideology, that tough mentality to the Chargers where they're going to run the ball. We're going to go out and draft a bunch of offensive linemen. We're going to get not old, but we're going to get some running backs that people don't, necessarily think are the best, like J.K. Dobbins, Hassan Haskins. Now he got R.J. Hampton. But, and he has Najee Harris over there. And he's done good things with that team. So at 6, I definitely have to put Jim Harbaugh. At 7, I got, this is going to get a lot of people.
The defense probably we get more of the accolades, but go ahead.
Yeah, at 7, I have Dan Campbell. Now, the reason why I haven't put Dan Campbell a little bit higher is because, one, he hadn't made it to the Super Bowl yet. But if he had made it to the Super Bowl, he'd probably be a little bit higher. But doing what he's done and being able to turn the Lions franchise around, I'm not talking about just game winning. I'm talking about a whole culture shift. Dan Campbell has changed the whole culture of not just Detroit, but sports. Everybody.
He's the number one culture coach changer, in my opinion, in the NFL. He's the number one culture coach changer, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. Listen, now, if you notice the interviews where head coaches are talking, no matter what sport it is, you got them cursing in interviews like Dan Campbell did when they introduced him as the head coach. You have people wanting to do the whole grit thing, and everybody wants to have a mentality like Dan Campbell. You know, a person that can identify with the players, a person that motivates you. You gotta. He's a trooper. So at
There's
7,
a reason why a lot of these coaches have been hired that are player personnel and very
100%.
personable coaches because of Dan Campbell. I agree.
And let's go back down the line, whether it may have been Jim Schwartz, whether it was Terrell Austin, Steve Marius, whoever. There were no other assistant coaches going out getting head coaching jobs like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn did. Yeah. And that starts with Dan Campbell. So he changed that whole thing around.
Agree.
At number 8, I know this is going to get a lot of people, but I got Kevin O'Connell from the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
You know, O'Connell, while I hate the Vikings and I hate everything about Minnesota, he's done a good job with that team over there. Yeah. They may be a little bit soft against Detroit, but they win games.
He's kind of like Dan Campbell himself. Yeah, very motivational man. Mm-hmm.
Yes, very motivational. He's mild-mannered. He doesn't lose his cool. You've never seen him lose his cool. I like Kevin O'Connell. But at 9, I'd probably have to go with Sean Payton. Why am I putting Sean Payton back there? Is because I think he's lost a little bit of his, sitting out. I think he kind of a little bit rusty. I'm not sure where he's going to go. I like Denver, but I don't think Denver is a contender for a Super Bowl yet. Anybody else think they're a Super Bowl contender?
Oh, they're a Super Bowl contender, but they're a damn good team. But go ahead, finish off your list.
They're a good team, but I don't see them even making it maybe to the second round of the playoffs. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just because I don't like Denver either. But I think Sean Payton, he has a good history. But what have you done for me?
Okay. All right.
And at 10, I got Mike McDaniel from the Miami Dolphins.
Mike McDaniel? What?
Yeah, hey, look, hold on. He's a good
Jeffrey Dahmer? Come on.
Look at me.
No.
Hold on.
Hell no.
All right. Let him finish this point, then we'll tear it apart. Go ahead.
He's a good somebody I was going to put in there. I was going to put Sean McDermott, but
that's who you should have put in there.
I was battling back and forth between.
I don't know how you battling back. Sean McDermott won divisions and has been in AFC playoffs.
What has Mike McDaniel won?
He hasn't won anything. Mm-hmm. And I can say the same thing. Listen, I could say the same thing for Sean McDermott. Considering the talent he has,
no, you cannot. Because McDaniels has not won a division title. Mm-hmm. They have not made it to the AFC conference. So that eliminates him right there.
All right, let's flip it over. Maybe I hate Sean McDermott's face too, but let's switch it. I could put Sean McDermott 10. I could put him.
He's not gonna like you for that.
But the thing is that it's hard for me to give him a lot of credit where you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, you have a team like you have, and you can't make it to the Super Bowl. You can't even get past the Chiefs.
But what's the desire for Mike McDaniels? What do you feel that he does that's worthy of a top 10 coach? Because obviously not winning.
The excitement even when you lose your quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa, obviously we know Miami is just they're on the downfall, but they still find a way to do things. Now, while they aren't a Super Bowl contender, they're good. They can maintain. If they make a couple moves and they can find a quarterback that can stay healthy, I think Miami would be a threat.
So you're talking about the excitement of his offense or the way he
the excitement of the
things?
Offense. Okay. The excitement of the offense. Tyreek Hill loves him.
I agree that
Jalen Waddle loves him
this year.
Bills got to get to Super Bowl this season. Yeah.
The Lions got to do too.
Mm-hmm. I asked Monkey that question. I'm like, how much pressure do you put on Sean McDermott considering
huge? He's going to get fired. He's going to get fired if they don't get to the Super Bowl this year. I'm telling you right now. They're going to replace his ass.
He isn't on a brink of being fired right now. I mean, he may be a little bit.
He might get fired himself too. Yeah.
But think about it. You don't have a quarterback. As much as I like Tua, you have to consider he may retire here soon. You got to give him a chance to have a healthy quarterback in your system and see what he can do then.
Okay.
That's just me though. But that's my top 10.
That's yours. Okay. B. Tear it apart. What are your thoughts?
So me and Jay had the first three all the way together here. So Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, and Nick Sirianni. All those are the top three.
You guys are really high on Nick Sirianni. I'm going to tell you exactly why I have him so low, but go ahead.
And Mike Tomlin, I got number 4. The reason why Mike Tomlin is number 4 is because he's been winning every season, and he's been to a Super Bowl, been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1, lost 1.
True.
And this is basically how I stacked my coaches up on this list. At number 5, I got Sean McVay because he did win a Super Bowl. He's been a pretty steady coach. He had that one bad season just after the Super Bowl. But other than that, he's been pretty steady. At 6, I got Sean Payton because he did win a Super Bowl as well. He won one with the Saints. Although I kind of was thinking about Jim Harbaugh in that sense too. I couldn't put Jim Harbaugh on the list. But anyway, I got Kyle Shanahan at number 7 because this is a little engine that could, but doesn't. He gets to the Super Bowl, but he can't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Then I got Sean McDermott at 8 because, like I said, he's won divisions. He's gotten all the way up to the AFC, and he's kind of just like number 9, Dan Campbell, because we get there and we haven't gone forward yet. And there's still hope for both coaches to get to that spot, and maybe this year will be the time that they both get into the Super Bowl.
Okay,
fingers crossed. 10, I have Kevin O'Connell because he's done a magnificent job with Minnesota, considering the fact that everybody every year puts their ass in the end of this division of the NFC North every year, and he's already was 14-3, had a chance to win the division last year with a quarterback that nobody thought was going to do anything, but this dude's a quarterback whisperer. This is the whole same reason why I think J.J. McCarthy is going to succeed in this offense, because I think that he's got the weapons around him. So he really doesn't have anything to do but fail on himself, because he's got a coach that's a coach whisperer, a quarterback that's a quarterback whisperer. You know what I'm saying? So I like it.
I want to push back on one thing. It is interesting about Kevin O'Connell and the J.J. McCarthy match, because I think when they drafted him, I came out and said that if you know Kevin O'Connell, he comes from the Sean McVay tree, which is a very pass-heavy type of offense. Mm-hmm. And where J.J. McCarthy came from the Jim Harbaugh tree, where it's run all pretty much the game and pass what we have to pass. So it is going to be interesting to see, to get a quarterback that's used to mostly handing the ball off to become more of a step back passer consistently. So I think that's where it's going to be the biggest challenge for J.J. McCarthy in that offense with KOC, and how they utilize him and how they, balance the offense out. It's going to be interesting to see, because on paper, it doesn't look like a good match, because it's just 2 different ends of the spectrum. But KOC is one of the better quarterback whisperers in the NFL, and he has had success with some of the lower level quarterbacks.
I give him his credit.
We'll see.
Definitely. That's what I was saying.
I think the other thing that you got to understand too, even in Jim Harbaugh's offense, you have to be effective as a quarterback for the run game to work.
Yes,
sure, yeah.
And that's the reason why he was drafted so high, I feel, by Minnesota, because Minnesota said if he can play like that to open the run up, then he can play like that.
Sure,
in the NFL.
No, I agree, because play action.
He'll be fine. I think he's going to be fine as long as he plays within himself and he doesn't try to be superhero JJ. And just throw the ball to JJ and Addison and Suckerson, and then give the ball off to the running back.
He's gonna have that Calvin Johnson-itis with JJ. Yeah. I guarantee you. Mm-hmm. Like he's gonna throw it up there a lot, and
Well, JJ might just take advantage of that, like
I'm sure he will.
Stafford did.
Mm-hmm. Sure. He don't need to, because Nate, you said something. Like, I don't think he needs to go out here and pass the ball as much as Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold did. He just needs to be effective, right? Like, he needs to be able to hit a wide open receiver when you need it. Whenever they call a pass play, you need to hit your receiver. I can see J.J. McCarthy throwing 20 to 25 passes per game. He don't need to throw 35.
Yeah, and I definitely think by trading for Jordan Mason and having Aaron Jones and revamping your O-line, they're basically telling JJ, we're going to want to run the football.
Yes.
Because we know that this is your strong point. You know, like B mentioned, he's got really good intellect. He can run the play action plays, maybe the bootleg, a little bit of his knee is okay. It just, for me, it's going to be like, can he step back in the pocket consistently and go down the field and look at his progressions? That's my thing. Because in Michigan, he really didn't have to do that a lot. It was one progression and go, or it was hand the ball off. So it's going to be interesting to see how that fluctuates with KOC's offense.
Yeah, and you know something, I think they spent a lot of time on doing that. Even last season when they were saying he was hurt again, they were going to try to make sure that he could do it. They're changing his game up a little bit because they want to be like, hey, in our offense, this is what you're going to have to do. This is what we want you to do. You know,
and the best thing that Minnesota did in the offseason was trade for Sam Howell. Sam Howell will be a competitive quarterback against JJ. I'm telling you that right now. It's gonna,
or he could beat him out.
It's gonna up both of them. Yeah. It could beat him out too. It depends on
the way you guys talk about Sam Howell, it could be for them to beat him out.
Monkey,
right,
what's
up, Monkey? All right, I'm gonna go with mine. So the first two, Andy Reid, he's the GOAT of coaching right now. Now that Belichick is in the NCAA, he is the best. John Harbaugh doesn't get enough credit. He is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Won Super Bowls, has an elite quarterback, has an elite defense. The dude does everything. And this guy was a special teams coach. That's amazing how good he's gotten. Third, Sean McVay. Listen, Sean McVay is one of the best, brilliant young minds in the NFL. And he's got a Super Bowl ring to show. He's had good quarterbacks, and his offenses are very fun to watch.
I hate that dude.
You know, and I'm not a big fan of him personality-wise. I think he's kind of an ass when it comes to probably being a leader on the team, because he's more like, I'll tell you what to do, and you just shut up and do it. But he's a hell of a coach. He is one of the best young coaches that we have. He's still young too. I mean, my God, you see his wife knock out beautiful.
You know what? You know something about Sean McVay? Sean McVay, I'll be honest, I didn't put him in my top 10. I know he's a good coach, and I know he's probably a top 10 coach. But I don't respect him. And the reason why I don't respect him is because, like you say, he has that douchey attitude.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
It's like,
he's okay with being an asshole. He's okay with that.
But the one thing that I like about Sean McVay is that he takes a gamble on his players.
This is what I like about y'all. See, you make lists versus emotion. I make lists versus statistics and what's going on.
Well,
that's why I said I have no hate. I have no hate for any of these coaches. I don't.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are in our division. I hate the teams. I don't hate the coaches.
But what Jay's saying is true. He is very full of himself. If you listen to his interviews, he's a very cocky, arrogant guy. But that being said, he's a hell of a play caller. That's why he's number 3. He's the best play caller behind Andy Reid in the NFL.
And now that I look at it, and now that I'm like thinking about it, I'm surprised he won a ring with Stafford based off of the chemistry. Like, Stafford is like the exact same, and I know they can probably bump heads, you know? And so
you know how Stafford is. Stafford's I can do it.
He's a very outspoken guy, you know, but hey.
What? Talks with a Bilbo?
I get what he's trying to
say. Maybe my dildo.
Yeah. I
all right. Let me keep going. So 4, I have Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan's been to the mountain, but hasn't conquered it. That's just his only knock. Other than that, he's had Brock Purdy. He's had Jimmy Garoppolo. He's had Lance. I mean, the guy has worked with crap quarterbacks and been successful. So Kyle Shanahan is there.
I know that's right.
Sean Payton is number 5. Listen, I think a lot of y'all are sleeping on Sean Payton. Sean Payton is one of the best play callers too out there too. He won a Super Bowl. He's been with Drew Brees. He found.
I have him at number 6, Nate.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I think it was Jay. But I mean, like he's turned Bo Nix into a bona fide, legit quarterback. Like Sean Payton's a great play caller. He was great in Dallas. He's been great in New Orleans, and he's gonna be great in Denver. So Sean Payton's number 5. MCDC is number 6. Listen, only knock on Dan Campbell is he hasn't won a Super Bowl. That's the only knock people have against him. But if this was a culture ranking, Dan would be number 1 because nobody's done more with less than Dan Campbell did when he inherited this job. He literally had no quarterback, and he had a bunch of guys that we don't even know are even in the NFL anymore. Probably not. Like Dan Campbell literally took the whole scrap heap of the Lions and turned it into a contender along with Brad.
Somebody doesn't like Sean Payton.
Yeah,
not.
Robbie.
All right. So Dan Campbell, he's up and coming. He's top. He's right outside the top 5.
Absolutely.
He is that good. All right. KOC number 7. KOC is a damn good coach too. He very leadership kind of oriented man. Also very good play caller. People do not know how good of a play caller KOC is. With all the weapons he has, the guy can design a lot of good plays. So there is hope for J.J. McCarthy with KOC because KOC is very creative. He's kind of like a Ben Johnson type in where he's going to tailor-made his offense to go with the quarterback. And I just like KOC in general. He's always talking up quarterbacks. He's always like, I don't know if you'll see the extra videos. He talked to Anthony Richardson after the game was over, said, "Hey, keep your head up. You know, it'll come to you." Like, I love that. You know, he didn't have to do that, but he did that. So KOC's a great guy. Yeah, he looks like you want to punch him in the face because he does look like a douche, but he's actually a nice guy. He really is. He's a very humble guy. All right, Jim Harbaugh. Yes, Jim Harbaugh is a good coach. He turned around the 49ers. He won a championship with Michigan. Chargers, this one's interesting too because, we talk about KOC and McCarthy, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's more of a guy who likes to pass a lot. Jim Harbaugh's more of a run kind of guy. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic work out. Now, Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback who hasn't had a good coach. Jim Harbaugh is one of the better coaches out there. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how that one pans out. Nick Sirianni at 9. I'm gonna tell you right now with Nick Sirianni why I'm so low. Listen, outside of winning a Super Bowl, what the hell has Nick Sirianni done for the Eagles?
Made 2 Super Bowls.
Okay, fine. But I mean, they're stacked defensively. They have a stacked offense. I mean, if you take what is
but don't use that as an argument. The coach has to coach a team that's put in front of him.
But what is the superpower for Nick Sirianni? Tell me that.
His superpower.
What does he do?
Being able to identify talent. That's his.
That's a GM's. That's Howie Roseman.
But Sirianni pushed them to make those decisions, right? Like go out.
No, Howie Roseman made those decisions, dude.
Of course, Howie Roseman too. But I'm telling you, Nick Sirianni was able. Look. We're hoping that Dan Campbell does what Nick Sirianni did this season, right? Well, last season, I should say. We're hoping that they can replace their coordinators and then automatically bounce back and get to the Super Bowl and be the top team in the NFC, right? That's what we're hoping Dan Campbell can do. Nick Sirianni did it. Now, I hate Nick Sirianni. I think he's a douchebag, but
what is his side of the ball? Is he offense? Is he defense? What is he?
I think he's more of an offensive guy. That's me because their offense was virtually unstoppable last season, right? I mean, really, ever since they played with the
again, it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. The man's been in 2 out of the 3 years. He's been in the Super Bowl. Yeah, and he got into the playoffs with a and that was based on. And that was with a messed up team in the first place. There was a lot of battling going on in the locker room that year, the year before last.
2 years ago, that team literally gave up in the playoffs for him. My thing is okay, is Sirianni a better leader than Dan Campbell is?
I don't think so. No, because Dan Campbell, I think when it comes to leader, he is the standard for leaders. But I think Nick Sirianni could possibly be a better play caller. I am going to say that whether it may be time management or being able.
I don't even think he did the play. He's not even a play caller. Like, what is he? Is he just the guy? Is he just the dude that just? I guess he's the CEO that just oversees everything. Like, I don't really know what his superpower is because Dan.
First of all, Dan Campbell doesn't call a lot of plays. Okay?
Right, but he is a leader.
He does have it.
He is a leader.
And that's what Sirianni does. You may not want to believe it. You don't want to admit it, but that's what he does.
See him being a leader.
That team has gotten to the Super Bowl 2 out of 3 years he's been there. So that's all I got to say.
Does that make him a leader?
Impressive.
It makes him a top 10 coach. That's what it makes him. Regardless of what your attitude is toward him. That it's still a stat line. Coaches are achieved by those are the guys that Super Bowls count for something. Okay, coaches. Fuck what a quarterback does. Quarterbacks don't do nothing. They're part of the team. They're part of the 22-man team. So when people say, "Oh, well, he won us a quarter," no, he didn't. The other 21 guys on his team helped him out too, because somebody's got to catch the ball, somebody's got to block. The coach puts all that together.
I get it, but here's the problem: is that when things were going bad for the Eagles early on in the season, they were bad because Sirianni was not doing anything about it. He was dodging the questions. He wasn't really motivating anybody. And then they kind of got on the run and they got better.
There you go.
So, I mean, all I'm saying is the reason why with Sirianni is that I just don't know what he really brings to the table other than just being the coach. This team is stacked. This team has a lot of good players on both sides. Not to mention they had 2 great OCs last year or coordinators. They had Fangio, who had a number 1 defense. They had freaking Kellen Moore, who's now the head coach of the Saints. They have an O-line that's the best in the NFL. They had the running back who were 2,000 yards. Like, what, if you take this team apart, if they struggle, where is Sirianni to lift them up and get them through that hump?
Coaches.
I think Jalen Hurts is a better leader than Sirianni.
This is the thing that you don't understand. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You just hear all the negative.
Well,
Philadelphia media is just like that. Media is like that in Philadelphia anyway. They hate everybody. They hate Santa Claus.
That is.
But anyway, the point of the matter is that Sirianni, you have to lead men. It doesn't make a difference how good the players you have on your team. You still have to lead them to that point. I've seen teams that have great players on their team not get to the playoffs because they have poor leadership. And Sirianni is a good leadership. Which way or right, you don't see everything that goes on with him. And obviously he's doing something because they've been in 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think he just keeps the boat afloat. I think that's what his job is. Because he's got a stacked roster all around. He's got a great GM in Howie. He's got a exceptional leader in Jalen Hurts. Like, that guy is one of the best leaders I've ever heard talk or just lead a team. So Sirianni, I think Sirianni just steps back. I just think he steps back and just lets everybody do their own thing.
I definitely think that Nick Sirianni is like the brains of the operation along with Howie Roseman. Now, Howie Roseman, obviously, I'd say he may be the best GM in the league, right? But it's still the fact that he has Sirianni in place for a reason. Because if he didn't play that much of a role with how much hate he's gotten with them losing the locker room at a certain point in time, I'm guaranteeing you that Howie Roseman would have been like, "Yeah, you got to go." But he knows.
Well, they were at that point in early in the season. There was talks about firing him, and then I don't know what the hell happened, but I
don't think that they kind of went on a run for them because
it's kind of like the Mike Tomlin thing. Every year for the last 4 years, they're talking about firing Mike Tomlin. Has he been fired? No. So it's got nothing to do
because he's had a winning season every year.
But the difference is, and you got to understand the difference in organizations. Philadelphia is just starting to win and be dominant. Okay, right. Pittsburgh has been a dominant team for the last 3 decades.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, they expect to be in a Super Bowl. Kind of like, as much as we hate Dallas fans keep saying it, they expect to be in a Super Bowl every year. Because that's what their organization has built. Yeah. Philadelphia is just getting to that point. Detroit's just getting to that point. When Detroit gets a Super Bowl, it's going to start that way too. It's going to say, look, we expect to win a Super Bowl every year. So
I guess also too, and we talk about the merits of coaching. I think this is where we differentiate because a lot of y'all put emphasis on just winning in Super Bowls. Like, you don't look at the whole roster as a whole. Like, if you have a stacked roster, look, give me an example. Nick Saban, Alabama's always stacked whenever he coaches. He's a damn good coach, but that roster is stacked as hell. Like, they always
do well. You seen what happened the very first year Nick Saban.
But he has to. But in that case, Nick Saban has to go recruit.
Recruit, yeah. And
right.
When he stepped out and retired.
But when it comes to like his game involvement, he pretty much is kind of like the CEO. So again, his leadership, Nick Saban's a great leader. Like he can lead boys all day. But here's the thing is like when I look at coaching for me, when I did this list, my merits were more of like, are you a leader? Are they going to follow you? Yes. Do you have to win too? Of course. You can't have a loser coach. You have Super Bowls. That is merits too. Again, I think that's more of roster construction because if we look at the teams that won Super Bowls, they've had stacked rosters. The Patriots are probably the only anomaly to the situation.
Not every Super Bowl.
The Chiefs had a stacked roster.
Eagles New York Giants didn't.
Rams did.
Giants did. Okay. The Rams really didn't have that good of a roster either.
But the Giants, but the Giants had a damn good defense. They had Eli Manning, who was solid. They had freaking Plaxico Burress.
But their roster wasn't stacked though. That's you said a roster had to be stacked.
Okay,
their roster wasn't stacked.
Their defense was stacked. But what I'm saying is like they have to have really, really good players to make it there. You rarely see.
I mean, that helps too, but you gotta have somebody to lead them. That's the point.
Well, of course.
Nick Saban, you said Nick Saban sits there and acts like the CEO. Dan Campbell is the same way. Believe it or not, Dan Campbell is the same way.
I agree with you.
He is a motivating coach. He can get players to do that. He does his roster, in my opinion, is probably one of the best rosters the Lions have ever had.
And that's credit to Brett. I agree with you.
But they didn't win the Super Bowl yet. And until they do that, this is the reason why he's down on my list. And I kind of agree, and this is going to shock Jay, because I watched the Valenti thing. And I kind of agree with Valenti because he said the coaches that were put before him have won something. And that's what a coach's resume is built on, winning.
Yes.
And that's
their specific job is to win.
I agree. And that's why I have him at 6. But Dan's superpower is he's a transformational leader. Like he literally took a bare bones roster and made them competitive. Even if we only won 3 games that year, we were competitive in almost every freaking game for the most part. And that's the credit to Dan Campbell. Now, you take Sirianni and put him in a 3-13 team or a shitty ass roster, you think he could do the same thing that Dan Campbell did? I don't think so.
I think so. Because in Philadelphia, you got a good GM that's not afraid to take the
but we're not talking. But we're not.
Hold on.
I'm talking about Detroit.
Hold on. This plays a part into it, though. You have a person that will, if the GM and coach sit down and be like, "Hey, we know this guy has problems, but we know he's a damn good player. We want to take him." Jalen Carter, right?
But Jay, but you're missing what I'm saying. Could Sirianni make that first year Lions team competitive? That's my question. Because you didn't have the talent.
The first year Lions team, Dan had wasn't competitive. They were 3-13-1.
Right, but they were competitive in games.
They got better as the season went on. And then the next year they lost the first 6 games.
Right.
So think about that. And he motivated them to get to where they got. They were 9-8 at the end of the year, and they beat Green Bay, so Green Bay couldn't make the playoffs.
Remember?
You got to buy into a system. That's a thing. It took Dan Campbell a year, a season and a half for players to buy into that system. Okay. When you have, and that's with, pretty not so great players. When you have already good players on your team, they should already be adults in the sense of being a player. So they should know, hey, all the coach has to do is tell you, look, get out there and do what you're supposed to do because that's what you do, and we can get it done. And that's the reason why they didn't make it the year before is because the offensive and defensive coordinators got figured out mid-season. Because remember, they started off that season, 7-6-0, 7-0 or something like that, 8-0 or something. So
they lost consecutive games. Remember that season? I'm glad you said that because remember that season, there were reports coming out saying that they had to they had to, like, I guess, have a team meeting and people were upset at each other. They were arguing allegedly. It was just so much stuff going on.
You talk about
they collapsed.
You talk about the Eagles. I'm talking about the Eagles alliance.
The Eagles.
Oh.
The Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles.
Yeah.
And remember, they were like, at a certain point in time, they were like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown allegedly didn't get along.
Which is crazy. Which is crazy because any turmoil that is the Eagles face, Sirianni's always the first one to get the blame, even though it's not always his fault.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
That's the Eagles. That's the Eagles media. Like they want it. They are so bipolar when it comes to Sirianni.
They are fixated on finding a villain, somebody to blame, somebody to hate, and I really believe that about Philadelphia. Now, I'm not trying to generalize them and generalize their media and everything, but it just seems like that, and that's everywhere you go. But
they're probably the most real media out there for sure.
What they did, and I want to answer your question with this, Nate. What they did is they made sure that next season, which we would consider the 24-25 season, they reloaded. They got everybody together. Everybody got on the same page, and they dominated. You know what I mean? And guess who was at the forefront of that? Their head coach, because he took a lot of slack in the previous season.
Well, that and adding Saquon Barkley.
You know, I mean, yeah.
Let's be real. Let's be real, dude. Let's be real. Come on.
And that was a big help. But like I said, their coach, he's a leader as well. He's their leader. Now, the different type of leader that they have over there in Philly can be different than what we have here in Detroit because we aren't used to winning anything. We need somebody to make us feel motivated and make us feel like we are winners. Mm-hmm. They already got that mentality in Philly. Mm-hmm. They just need the people to rally the troops to get there.
Because one roster literally was created in year one. Where he inherited a pretty decent team.
Yeah,
so I get it. I get what you're saying.
Job to come in and change the culture because the culture in Philadelphia is winning. They already know what they want. They had a taste of it before. They know what it tastes like, and that's exactly what they're ordering off the menu.
Okay.
Here in Detroit, we needed that taste of winning.
Well, yeah, because you have no roster. You have nobody. You didn't have a quarterback. Like, yeah,
well, first of all, that's not the only thing, though. The thing was the perception of winning in this organization. They haven't had that for the last 68 years. So come on.
That's why
that's what it was about. It wasn't about just the roster itself. You have to build the roster anyway because the roster was crap when he inherited it. It was crap thanks to Matt Patricia. But anyway, the point is he went in there and he cleaned up. He talked to Brad Holmes. And that's what good coaches do, with their general manager. They go and talk to him and say, hey, I'd like to have this player. Could you take a look at this player? What do you think this player could be doing in this situation? And it helps that Brad Holmes used to be a player himself. So you just have a bunch of things that are lining up right for the Lions to be in that specific situation.
And not only that, but any good coach will tell you that you need to set your foundation and your standards, and your players have to adhere to those standards. That's where success starts, and that's what Dan Campbell did from day one. He set the standard, saying we're gonna bite on kneecaps, we're gonna kick your ass. He was like, we're not gonna be pushovers anymore. I know we fucking suck, but we're not gonna suck anymore. We're gonna fight and kick your ass. You got to start the foundation, and then from there, that's where the roster construction happens, and that's where the players buy in. But you've got to start the foundation right from the get-go, and that's exactly what he did. Mm-hmm. All right, my last coach is Sean McDermott. Listen, I put Sean McDermott in the same lines of Nick Sirianni. Yes, they've had success, but Sean McDermott is supposed to be a defensive guy. I believe that's correct, right? His MO's defense. The Bills' defense has been ass for like years. They are the reason why they can't beat the Chiefs because you can't stop Mahomes. And you still can't stop Mahomes. So until you learn how to play defense and stop Mahomes, I don't know what Sean McDermott is doing on this team because I think a lot of the credit for Josh Allen comes with his offensive coordinators. He had Joe Brady. He had Ken Dorsey. He's had a lot of good offensive guys, which makes sense. When you're a defensive-minded coach, you usually try to get yourself a really good offensive coordinator because that's not the side of the ball that you're familiar with. But if you're the defensive guy, don't you think the defense should be a lot better than it is?
And I was just going to ask, where's Monkey? Where's Monkey?
Well,
because you had to check the defensive rankings before you.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Numbers are subjective. You know, the Lions' defense was at some points was decent, but in a lot of our eyes looked like ass. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just look at what I see on TV or what I see, because obviously I don't live in Buffalo. Like, Buffalo's defense struggles against the Chiefs. That's why they can't beat them. You know, like, you've got to be able to play defense. And Sean McDermott is one of the better defensive coordinators when he got the coaching job. And that has been their Achilles heel and the weakness.
Defense?
But they can't get past the Chiefs, Monkey. What's that mean?
You know,
every game they play is a shootout. That means nobody's playing defense.
Teams that can get past the Chiefs. Let's just put it out there.
But still, I mean, but when you get into shootouts, Jay, you're not playing defense. Mm-hmm. That's my point. Anyways, so
Chiefs every year.
I will say this: I did not put Mike Tomlin in my list, and I thought about it too because I like Mike Tomlin a lot. Honestly, like when I look at all these coaches, like Mike Tomlin's probably won a lot more than all these coaches. There's no doubt about that. But lately, his leadership has taken a big nosedive, huge nosedive. Like you've got a lot of disconnect in that locker room. You know, players talking mess about each other, even Tomlin in some aspects. Like, and honestly, Mike Tomlin is a good dude, but he loses the locker room. You know, and the fact is, when you're a player's coach and you're losing the locker room, that's not a good thing. Like, and I can't put him on that list. He's probably number 11. But all these other guys, they have a strong locker room.
Wow.
Well, he had a strong locker room too. You look at you. You gotta look at your, everything. That's why I said was teetering on Jim Harbaugh because he did win when he was with San Francisco. No, he didn't win when he was in San Francisco because they lost to Baltimore.
Right.
Yeah, he got to the Super Bowl, but he lost against his brother. No, he didn't win a Super Bowl.
Sorry, Rob.
But he did take a San Francisco team that was kind of down and out and made them better in a couple of years.
Yeah, man.
Like I said, for me, I don't like you kind of poked me earlier and said about the emotion thing. It's not necessarily emotion. It's more of the fact is it's more of I look at leadership as more of a transformational aspect, not only with wins and Super Bowls, but also do you lead men? Are you a leader in the locker room? Are you respected? Do people buy into your situation? Because that's all coaching too. You know, everybody gets caught up in the wins and rings and all that crap. But really coaching comes more down to is do your players believe in what you do in your system?
And how you call plays. And do you
that too.
Do manage a game, when you use timeouts and don't challenge dumb calls.
You gotta look at it like this though. Tomlin has done a lot of things for that team to even get them to the point where they've had a winning season all this time. Yeah. And they've been really messed up teams in the last 4 years. And I think the thing that you also want to have about Tomlin that I could probably agree with you a little bit. Once he lost Roethlisberger, that's where that team started dipping. Right. See, he for him to succeed, he is a straight up defensive minded head coach.
He is.
Period.
I'm glad you said that. Exactly.
He will put all kinds of money on that. He'll have the owners put all kinds of money on that defense.
They have the most
expensive iota on offense.
They have the most expensive defense.
And so I mean, when Ben Roethlisberger knew how to run the offense, then he first of all he got rid of Haley, which was stupid. Because he could have kept him.
Well, him and Haley didn't get along. Yeah,
regardless, if you're winning games, that doesn't make a difference. That's why people got to put that stuff in check. Then on top of that, when he got these last two coaches, they were crappy coach. I don't like the head coach they got. I mean, the offensive coordinator they got now. All they do is run the ball. It's stupid.
And something else I give Mike Tomlin for? He was able to keep Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and George Pickens under control while they played for his team. That's no easy feat. You understand what I'm saying? They behaved and they believed in it.
Not really, man. I disagree with that, Monkey.
You know,
Mike McCarthy didn't win for a lot, and he still was head coach for a while.
And
Justin Garrett, same way.
You know, Mike Tomlin. I
sucks.
definitely got to say, Mike Tomlin. You got to put
I'm
him
just
up there
saying,
because if you're there for 2 decades, if you had a team for 2 decades, you've been through multiple coaches, quarterbacks, players, and you can still have a winning season. That says a lot about you and the organization. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right, Jay. And here's the thing with Ben Roethlisberger. B hit it right on the head. Mike Tomlin is a defensive coach, okay? And they got lucky when Ben Roethlisberger fell into their laps in that draft. Because if you look at the quarterbacks after Ben Roethlisberger, Tomlin has not hit on any of these quarterbacks. And you have to go get 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers' ass to save your season one more time. You know,
I think the thing about that is you got to look at it from the other side of that, because he had an offensive coordinator then that probably was the one that was in control of who they wanted to get on offense. He didn't really have it. He didn't make the decisions on that. So when you say luck, I don't think it was luck. I think the offensive coordinator said, "Hey, there's Ben Roethlisberger. I like him for our offense. Let's go get him. He's a big guy.
Nobody knew a guy from Miami, Ohio was going to be a Hall of Famer. That's what I'm trying to say. It's luck.
Well, nobody knows anybody's going to be a Hall of Famer when they get him as a rookie.
But in the circumstances of Pittsburgh, they lucked out that they have a Hall of Famer quarterback they were able to use multiple years to win Super Bowls with. Because a lot of people didn't see Roethlisberger being that good.
Roethlisberger didn't come into. I mean, he came into the league, but he had all kinds of issues going on. That whole thing and the
defense saved his ass. I mean, that's the thing, is that the reason why Pittsburgh has been so successful is because their quarterback play has been good enough to not be bad, and the defense has always usually, took care of everything because they put all the money and all the assets in defense. So they're always got a strong defense.
Einsworth was another reason why that.
Yeah, but
you know who made those calls for those players though? The offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Todd Haley. Todd Haley was the man.
Right.
Yeah. And because he didn't like him, because they had fallen out of ground, which I don't understand why they even didn't do, went through those stages, because hell, you ain't an offensive guy. You're a defensive guy. Shut the fuck up. Coach the rest of the team. Let the offensive coordinator do his thing. And And I don't even know why he had Todd Haley was very good for their offense.
And you're seeing the pattern that is going on in the NFL. Bad teams don't have a quarterback and probably don't have an OC. Good teams have a quarterback and an OC. When those two are working in tandem together, you have success. When there's friction and there's too much convolution in between, it's hell.
No, it wasn't Tomlin. It was
but I'm just saying. I mean,
it was a guy before him, but
they shared a lot of their career together. Is what I'm trying to say. But anyways,
yeah, they won a Super Bowl together.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, we'll wrap up this segment. Any thoughts on anything else? Anybody that you wanted to put in the top 10 that maybe you didn't decide not to?
I said Jim Harbaugh. So
somebody I respect and a lot of people don't respect, but I guess since he took a year off, I got to see what he does when he come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I thought about putting Pete Carroll in that list because Pete Carroll's leadership is second to none.
Yeah.
Very strong guy, very energetic. The guy is almost as energetic as Dan is.
Yeah,
and he's 70 years old.
And he's the oldest head coach in the league right now.
Yeah. Players love playing for that guy.
Taking a chance on him, and they brought a former quarterback of his and Geno Smith over there, man. We'll see how it goes. But I don't know, man. I still think the Raiders got a lot to work on. Lots to work on.
Yeah. I think anybody on this list you think is going to possibly fall off?
Definitely. I think I hate to say it, but it may be Shanahan. I hate to say it might be Shanahan.
If the Niners somehow moved off of Shanahan,
yes, Robbie, we know.
He would have a job. He would have a job in like 2 minutes. That's how good of a coach he is.
Yeah. I agree with that. But what it is, and when I say fall off, I mean, it's a lot of things transitioning for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, they got rid of a good wide receiver, one of their top wide receivers, Deebo Samuel, right? It's just some things happening.
Well, Jay, they can't afford. They don't have the money, man. They're in hell right now. They had to let some of those guys go.
And one thing that we always say about quarterbacks really quick is that when they get that big extension, it's almost like they kind of disappear and turn into a different player. Now with Brock Purdy getting that big extension, let's see how he plays. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Is he really that guy that they thought he was going to be and they paid him to be? Now, I know their hands were tied, but, I mean, it's still Brock Purdy, man. And he's kind of like Jared Goff, a young Jared Goff. You got to have everything right around him. Otherwise, it may be bad. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Sean McDermott. If they don't get to the Super Bowl this year, he's gonna get fired.
Monkey,
I'm serious.
Monkey is not gonna like you at all.
I'm serious. I'm serious, literally, because he can't get you to the next step. Why are you gonna keep a guy who keeps getting you close there but won't get you past?
I don't know, man. Okay, look. If they don't make a Super Bowl this year, do you think he gets fired?
Yes.
Yes.
He was on the chopping block last year, man. He's going to get fired if he don't get the Super Bowl this year. He has to get the Super Bowl. Huh?
No, I was saying, B, what do you think?
Let me see something real quick because I want to see some stats.
I'm going to be honest with you. I still don't think he gets fired.
Yeah, because
I don't think he does either.
Because the thing is that a lot of his wins are in the regular season. That doesn't matter. You got to get to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. Like we talk about Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is probably up there with the most wins in his career now than he was with some of his predecessors. But the thing is, he hasn't got a Super Bowl, so he can't get into that next level. You know, McDermott's that same way. If McDermott gets a Super Bowl, he's in that level. He'll be fine. But if he doesn't get to them and they lose again to the Chiefs or somebody else, he's done. They got to get somebody else.
Now, Monkey. I'm gonna come at you about that, okay? Because first of all, you were the one that said they might get rid of him a couple of years ago. We had that conversation, so don't act like that rumor hasn't gone around Buffalo that he could get fired. Stop that. He was. He was on a chopping block a couple years ago.
They just didn't say it loud enough. They kept
that's something I really have.
You know better than that, bro.
People were upset. Who were they upset at? So, Monkey, were they upset at Josh Allen? Were they upset at his coordinators? Who were they upset at? Because it was a lot of talk going around. I don't know if that was about getting fired, but it was.
Here's something Monkey might like.
He's been a coach of the Bills since 2017. That's 8 years. And he's gotten to what, the playoffs? Like, how many times out of that time?
Yeah, but no rings to show. But here's something Monkey might like. So if the Giants fire Dable, which a lot of people think will happen, they will fire McDermott to get Dable. There you go.
No, they won't.
No, they won't. I can't agree with that one.
No, I don't think they will. No.
Allen's guy. I don't smoke, so I don't know where y'all getting that from.
No, they're.
But it was still. It doesn't make a difference, Monkey. It's still a media. It was still out there, and it was in the NFL media too. That's not the point.
Those rumors.
It did sound somewhere.
Dude,
they got to come from somewhere, buddy.
I've heard local media bash freaking McDermott.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on. Jay, thank you very much for that session.
Yes,
it was good debates there, y'all. Real quick, just real quick before we wrap this up. If the Lions get to Super Bowl and win it, where do you put Dan in this list?
I will put him maybe at 3.
A little bit higher.
I'll put him like at 3.
I'd say he jumps 1-5. He's a top 5 coach.
And while the reason why I say I'll put him at 3 is because I think having to win a Super Bowl with different coordinators in your first year, and they don't have the experience with your team just yet, that says a lot. After losing a couple players, especially losing Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, 2 big offensive pieces for us, I think that really says a lot. And
I agree.
I'd have him jump a couple of spots up.
So you put him at where do you have him right now?
I got him at 9, so he'll be at 7 because he'd be over in my list. He'd be over Sean McDermott and Kyle Shanahan because they haven't won a Super Bowl yet. So if they win a Super Bowl, then they should overstack them because Sean Payton's been in a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. McVay's won a Super Bowl, and I might actually put him over Sean Payton too. Which is his, that's his mentor.
That's his idol. That's his
idol. Sean McVay, he's won a Super Bowl and lost a Super Bowl, so I just put him just under Sean McVay right there because he's been to 2 Super Bowls. And now the question is, if Dan Campbell gets to 7 years, 8 years without winning a Super Bowl, what do you want to do then?
Uncomfortable discussion. Yeah.
It will be it just depending on what direction that they're going in, right? Like if he hadn't won a Super Bowl, but it's like they're contending and they are just missing something, I wouldn't say get rid of him. I wouldn't say he's going to get fired. I think they just have to make that move and get whatever it is they're missing.
I think to what Jay said, I think that if Dan has the Tomlin effect, which means just get to the playoffs or have a winning season, you keep your job. Listen, I don't want to say this because I know it sounds pure homerism, but Dan is more than just a coach for Detroit. He is Detroit. And I'm talking about the city. I'm not talking about just the team. He is the city. Like if he literally decided to run for mayor or governor of Michigan, he'd win in a heartbeat. Guarantee you.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm gonna tell you something about Detroit people. Detroit people only stand for a constant so long. He can talk all that mess. He can be all bite the kneecaps bullshit. But if he doesn't win a Super Bowl in the next couple years, they're gonna turn on him. That's what fans in this city do if you do not show results after a certain amount of time. They give you time, but if you don't do it, and especially if you say you're going to go out there and do it. Now, Dan hasn't said he
hasn't said that.
He said he's going to change the culture. Change the culture, which he has. Mm-hmm. But, like Hinch is going to be the next guy, too. If Hinch doesn't get this team to Tigers to the World Series, they're going to turn on him like Bickerstaff will be the next guy.
Look at Steve Yzerman, right? Like Steve Yzerman, he's like a hero here.
Yep. That's the next, and they're already turning on him.
And look at how they treated him now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're already turning on him.
Yeah, it better be a hell of a coach if we replace him. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Because you're losing not only a coach, but you're losing.
That the Ford franchise would turn on him, but the fans here will definitely turn on him.
B brought up a great point. He's right about the fans. The fans can be very fair weather here at times. Like as loyal and dedicated as they are, there's a lot of fair weather people out there. I mean, look how they kind of turn on
people. It's just people want stuff to be done. It's not fair weather. It's just people want to see success. They don't want. Yeah. This is a football city, and I'm gonna tell you, that's why Michigan Wolverines get a lot of love from Detroit, because first of all they're closer to the city, and second of all they win. You don't see us giving a lot of love to Michigan State, although Michigan State is a good team too, but they don't win national championships like Michigan does.
But before Michigan
Panthers got all kinds of accolades when they first started in the USFL and they won the first championship, and it was sad because they won a championship before the Lions ever won a Super Bowl. Then on top of that, we had the Detroit Drive, which is an arena football team. They were in 4 or 6 championships in their first 6 years in the league.
When did the Panthers?
They love winners.
When did the Panthers win the championship? I thought it was the Stallions that won it.
No, they won it. They won the very first USFL championship.
I thought that was the Stallions that won the first one.
No.
Panthers?
Michigan won it.
Probably didn't pay attention. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a very uncomfortable thing that we don't want to think about. But there's always, you're right, there's a reality that, I mean, you can overstay your welcome. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
My thing is, and I'll end it with this. If you're going to replace him at some point, you better replace him with somebody damn good that's a lot better. And remember how much crap they gave Jim Caldwell after they fired his ass, and then they got Matt Patricia?
Yep, absolutely.
Well,
it really quick.
Well, I'll tell you what. It's if the franchise catches it fast enough, and they have a plan, like some teams I know right now, just like Pistons. Pistons got rid of Rick Carlisle because Rick Carlisle kept taking them to the Eastern Conference Final, couldn't get past there.
Mm-hmm.
They started talking to Larry Brown. They said, "You know what, Larry? If this fool doesn't get us a damn championship, are you available?" And if he says, "Yeah," well, he was a college coach at the time, so he was always available. He came over here, and guess what? They were in the back-to-back championships. Yes, they won one of them, but they were still in back-to-back championships with that team.
But that's a great
coach
point
matters. Coaches matter.
But that's a great point too, B, because as much as I respect Rick Carlisle and think he's a good coach, he has been prefaced to good rosters. Like when he won the Dallas championship, that roster was damn good. And they had Dirk Nowitzki. You know, when you bring in a guy like Larry Brown, who's very highly respected, and people, even young people, I mean, look at how AI gravitated towards him. AI is very, his own way kind of thing. And he loved Larry Brown. You know, sometimes coaches,
that's coaching.
Right.
And coaching has that level. Larry Brown basically took over the same roster that Rick Carlisle had. Now they added Rasheed Wallace later on, but they still took over. He still took over the same, and they did way better
because of the persona of Larry Brown and the way.
No, he's a better coach. He was a better coach than Rick Carlisle. You can't get somebody over a pinnacle. But look at Rick Carlisle now.
Yeah.
He damn was one game away from winning a damn championship. I mean, he's a good coach. He was a good coach when he was here too.
Yeah.
But when you can't get to a certain point, and either the franchise says, you know what, dude, this guy ain't gonna get us over past this point, or the fans start calling for his head. That tells you right there everything you know about that coach.
And that's the crux of coaching nowadays. That's why coaching's so damn hard.
It's been like that for a long time, man.
But it's gotten worse now, because if you take the NBA for example, they are firing coaches after first years. That's insane. The Suns have had 3 coaches in 3 years. Like
shit, they do that in the NFL too.
Right, but exactly. You're right. But here's the thing. It's because these owners are tired of just always losing. You know, losing drains you. It tires you out. Your fans don't want to go to the games. You have to pay your fans to go watch the games because they're so bad. The thing is that you have to change it at some point. And then you have the other coaches who have had all the success but can't get over the hump. You know, and I think we have a lot of coaches like that in the NFL and all over sports, that they're great coaches in the regular season, top coaches. But when it comes to the playoffs, when things get tighter, things get more convoluted, they can't do it. And that's when you got to ask yourself, maybe we need to move somewhere else. Maybe we need a different voice, you know?
Well, all I know, this is year 5 for Dan Campbell. All right. He got into the NFC Championship, and the team totally collapsed in the second half. He didn't even make it to the NFC Championship last year because that whole situation with the coaching just screwed the whole makeup of that team up.
They had a lot of things go bad.
A lot of things going on, and the defense was all messed up. Both the coaches already got jobs, so they didn't give a damn. And let me tell you something. If you have a coach and you're getting a head coaching job, who cares about what you do with this team? Because you already got a job. Absolutely. So that's the truth. That's just the human element of it. So, for both AG and Ben, fuck them. Because don't do that shit again. Don't ever do that again. That was a bad part on the coaching. That was bad stuff on the Lions staff, period.
Well, that's the NFL's
never let
fault.
them do that.
NFL's fault. They need to stop doing that crap.
No.
Because they allowed them to do interviews.
Your ownership has the right to tell you, no, you can't go look for a job right now. We're in the middle of a playoff run. There was a couple coaches that got held back from that because they had a playoff run going on. Kellen Moore didn't sign with the Saints, even though he probably had a bona fide job. But they said, you can't do that. Yeah. And see, that's the thing. If Dan Campbell is going to make decisions like that to implode your team, you got to look at that too. in an important time. So if he doesn't get nothing done in year 5, if he goes to the playoffs in year 5 and does the same thing he did in his 3rd and 4th year, he ain't gonna last long here. No matter how much he's done to turn this team around, because they do. Failing is not. Eminem is the best person. Failing is not an option. You have to win, and that's the problem that people don't get about sports. That's what their franchise is built on. They gotta win. You can't talk about something that happened back in 57 and 34 and all that stuff. Nobody remembers that. Most of the people on this earth wasn't even born then.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you gotta have stuff.
And that's the thing about, because we can all agree that this rebuild has accelerated more than we thought it was gonna accelerate. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that it's been great. We love the ride, we enjoy it, but we want that final ending to happen, you know. And the thing is that it's a double-edged sword, because I agree with you. Like, you know, they've put this together so well that nothing else matters unless you host that Lombardi, you know. And we'll see what happens. But all right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the fight time.
Well, let me get a couple. Let me get a couple of NFL things out here, because there was a couple of things that happened this week, and I want to ask a question too. Unfortunately, folks, this is going to be Lions time for a minute. So they extended. Why am I having so much? Okay. Buccaneers re-signed their coach, Todd Bowles, and GM Jason Light to multi-year contract extensions. Deserved, I believe. Bowles is 27-24 in 3 seasons. First coach in team history to win 2 straight division titles. Light is 85-95 overall in 11 seasons, including a Super Bowl win. So, I mean, I think they deserve their extensions. I don't think anybody.
27 for Todd Bowles in his wow,
Tampa Bay career. Yeah,
it's terrible.
That's not terrible. It's a winning record. It's over 500.
You said 24 and 27. So it's 27-24.
Yeah, it's 27-24. And then remember, it wasn't Bowles. No, that wasn't Bowles. But I mean, they won 2 division titles. So I mean, that's good. That's a start.
I think that's Tampa Bay basically saying that we believe in our continuity and what we have, and hopefully it gets us over the hump to win another Super Bowl. You know, having Baker as your quarterback and having your GM and having your coach all in line, that's a good start. You know, now whether it's going to get them over the hump, I don't know. I mean, Todd Bowles is a good coach. I think he's a better defensive coordinator than he's a head coach, in my opinion. You know, but
they got a good offensive coordinator.
We'll see. Yeah, sometimes they had Liam last year, who got the Jags job. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And the year before they had Canales.
Yeah. You know, one thing I'm also seeing too is, and I think y'all all see this too, is the NFL is shifting away from defensive coaches as head coaches. Like AG was lucky to get that job.
Well, yeah, because it's not a defensive. This is not a defensive NFL anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And so the reality
AG is
is
a defensive coach, but
yeah, I mean, like I said, he got the exception. But the thing about AG is it wasn't because of his defense. It was the leadership. It was the way he motivated his players, the way he got the most out of a shitty roster that season. Like when you do more with less, people see that stuff.
Well, like I said, he's more of Dan Campbell.
Yeah, exactly.
He's more like Dan Campbell. He's not really the best defensive or offensive play caller. That's what he has an offensive and defensive coordinator for. You let you deal with that. If I find that you're not doing a good job at your position as an offense or defensive coordinator, then I'm going to take over plays and get somebody to replace you, which he did in his first year with the Lions when he got rid of Lynn.
Right. And the way he handled Aaron Rodgers, that was huge. That was a great way to start your foundation of no nonsense. You're not going to put up with that crap. And the fact is too that he was a former Jet. It was like a very nostalgic kind of situation where if you're going to bring somebody back as a head coach, why not bring one of your best players in history to play the game for your team? And he's just a great guy too. So,
but yeah, Todd Bowles is Todd Bowles is defensive coach too.
Yep.
He played safety for the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, no, he's a great defensive coordinator. I just don't know if he's a head coach, but that's just me.
I mean, obviously he's a good enough head coach to win 2 divisions. Of course, it is
pretty shitty.
Division, but still, I mean,
that's
to
like
be
saying
consistent, and he's 27 and 24. I mean, you can't say that about too many coaches in that division right now.
That's true.
Mike
and they managed to beat Philadelphia a couple of times bad.
And us. Yeah, it's crazy.
So they're a good team. He's done wonders with Mason. I'm not Mason. Mayfield. Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he's done wonders.
Yeah, he's resurrected Baker's career. Yeah,
I think he deserves it, and I think that GM deserves it too. He's won a Super Bowl.
Continuity. So. It's building continuity, man. Nobody wants to change their coach every year.
So now I got another question for you guys.
What's up?
There's 2 free agents on the market right now that media has, not a lot of media, but some media has saying that the Lions should go out and grab. One of those is wide receiver Keenan Allen. Do you think that the Lions should get him?
No.
And why not? If you say no,
I think that with the addition of Isaac Tesla, I think that kind of eliminated that. I don't see a real.
And Patrick.
And you got a veteran. You got a veteran, 2 veterans actually with Khalif Raymond and Amon Ra that are able to kind of keep the younger guys in check. With the emergence of J-Mo, I think we all expect Isaac Tesla to do big things, considering they traded 3 third-round picks for him. So, no, I just don't think it makes sense.
Keenan Allen's a dog.
And I love that from Jay, Mr. Upgrade guy over here.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
we can always upgrade.
Keenan
Allen's probably better than Khalif Raymond.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's a damn good receiver. Okay,
yeah,
he's always kicks our ass. So having him on our team, I wouldn't be mad about it. But it definitely does, because he's a big body receiver, so he would be competing with Tim Patrick, and he'd be competing with Tesla for those minutes or snaps. And so I'm 50-50 on that one. I do like Keenan Allen a lot.
I like Keenan Allen too. I just think it's too much.
And the fact that the Bears played him in the slot, that sounds so dumb. I don't understand why they.
Well, This is why I say Amon St. Brown is like Keenan Allen, because Keenan Allen, when he was playing with the Chargers, did the same thing that Amon St. Brown did. He was playing all over he was a wide receiver 1, a slot, a wide receiver 2. It didn't make a difference. They put him everywhere because he could play all those positions, just like Amon can. And
Keenan Allen's one of the best high point receivers in the NFL. Like the guy,
he runs the crispest routes, dude. That dude has a route running structure that just is second to none, basically.
Only knock I have on Keenan Allen is his head. He needs to do something with that hair, man. Like you see that ball spot.
Jay giving beauty tips.
So Jay said we are not getting Keenan Allen because he's got a head of effed up hair. That's what it is.
I'm gonna say this, and please God, don't let it happen. But if something was to happen to Patrick or Tesla, that's where Keenan Allen would be needed.
Now that's drywall. Come on.
Because they would go with a veteran receiver, and I'm sure Goff would push for that too. So.
Yeah, agreed.
And the next guy that I think that would probably, in my opinion, they should sign is offensive lineman Brandon Scherff. He's still out there as a free agent. Now, the only reason why I feel that he would be a good addition is because the offensive line is still kind of young. Mm-hmm. They just went through a shift with Ragnow retiring, and they got Glasgow playing. He'll probably start off playing center, and I'm sure what's his face will come and take over that position. Either midway through the season or next season, whatever. But having an extra guy like Scherff, and he plays multi positions too. Having him on there would just strengthen that offensive line even more, I feel. And I think it would be a no doubt. He's been in Pro Bowls. He's been in, the last Pro Bowl he was in 2021, granted, but he has been very steady. He has had no injury issues. Knock on wood for that. And I think that he would be a good addition to the Lions.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good addition too. Why didn't Jacksonville sign him back?
I don't know. Jacksonville had signed some other didn't they draft an offensive lineman? I'm trying to remember what their whole draft situation was.
I'm sure they added somebody in there.
But yeah.
And he is old. He's kind of like, what we had in
Tyler.
Yeah, last year. He's an old guy.
He would be a good insurance piece, no doubt about that. I agree with you, B, 100%. Like, we literally have 2 rookies starting at guard right now on both sides. Because Mahogany's still a rookie, in my opinion. He played 2 games. He's still a rookie. Honestly, like, if the Lions didn't have such a love infatuation with Coyote and that guy they got from Arizona, I would be on board with that 100%. I think I even said I wanted Brandon Sheriff when free agency started, because he would have been a good plug and play player.
Yep.
The problem is that the Lions have these infatuations with players on their rosters. Even though we don't like them or we could think they can upgrade them, they just love these guys. And that's Coyote's one of those guys they love because he's played in big games. He's been reliable and he knows the system. And so he's definitely going to be a guy that they're going to plug in if Mahogany struggles or Tate struggles. He's going to be in there. So
Coyote's had some bad games too, though.
He has. I agree.
Injury
issues. Injury is the only way he makes the roster. Like if something happens to Coyote or Tate or whatever or Mahogany, then I could definitely see him going for Brandon Sheriff because Dan loves those vets. He will not. This Lions team is only starting 2 rookies because they have to start 2 rookies. If they didn't have to start 2 rookies, they would not start 2 rookies. They don't want to start rookies unless they absolutely have to. And so.
Yeah. Brent, what do you think, Brent? Because I know you chimed in about Allen. What do you think about having Brandon Sheriff as an offensive lineman? Because right now, we're not hearing anything. One rumor I did hear that was was really funny.
What?
So if Cincinnati doesn't sign Hendrickson and Hendrickson sits out, you know who they're going to try to replace him with?
Who?
Shamar.
Ladarius Smith.
That makes sense. Yeah, I agree.
That would make sense. It's like it should make sense for us too. But
yeah, and they'll give him the money he wants.
Probably.
Zadarius
he ain't gonna be as much as Hendrickson.
No, Zadarius wants somewhere in the range of $20 million. I'm telling you right now,
right?
20 plus million. That's what he wants. He don't want this 1-year crap deals. He wants an extension for at least 3 years for around 25 million. That's what he wants. The Bengals would pay that because they know he's played in Cleveland. He's played in Cleveland, so hey, come play for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right, yeah. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. So it's like, okay, everybody's clamoring for Ladarius to come here, but
I almost
funny.
want the guy to get
signed
somewhere else, so the Lions stop talking about him.
Right, yeah, Hendrickson or TJ Watt's the other one that's starting to come into play, and I'm like, you know what, Pittsburgh's going to sign him. They're just lollygagging around.
Man,
I think he has more of a chance to get signed, way more of a chance to get signed than Hendrickson does, but we'll see.
Who's a better fit, TJ
really?
Watt
Why you think so?
or Zadarius?
What did you say?
You said
Who's a better fit?
He'd get signed before Trey Hendrickson. Why you think so?
Because that's
because the Steelers
Watt.
They know how to take care of their people.
And Pittsburgh and Pitt, that's a main source of their defense right there is TJ Watt.
Exactly.
That dude is if he's not better than Garrett, he's about on that same playing field.
I agree. I agree.
Absolutely.
Who's a better fit, TJ Watt or Zadarius?
On the Lions?
Watt.
TJ Watt.
Watt easily.
Oh yeah. I'll take TJ Watt over Hendrickson.
Yeah, he plays a 3-4.
I take TJ Watt over Hendrickson in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
he is literally. You literally have 1A and 1B in defensive ends right now. It's Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, and then everybody else.
That's fair.
And really, TJ Watt's got more sacks than Garrett in the last 4 years.
They're two different pass rushers. Yeah.
I just think that Myles Garrett is a little bit more effective.
Myles Garrett's more power. TJ Watt.
You haven't seen too many Pittsburgh games because TJ Watt has made a lot. He's done Aaron. He's done Aaron.
Tackle for a loss, a sack, and block a kick in the same game. Myles Garrett is a monster, bro.
Yeah, he's speed.
Yeah, that's one game. I've seen TJ Watt do that in multiple games.
Yeah, TJ Watt is speed and he's also power, but he's also instincts. Like he's got really strong instincts on where the ball's located. To where Myles Garrett is pure athleticism. Like if you see the guy in person, the guy is a massive man. Like he is huge.
He is a linebacker. But he is a rushing linebacker. That's what they call him now. He's a blitzing linebacker.
Yeah, he plays standing up.
He basically be a defensive end. He's a defensive end / linebacker.
Which another reason why he would be a better fit than Zadarius is because he could play standing up too. Which Shep could utilize that because we don't have a linebacker that can play standing up and rush the quarterback. We're hoping that's Barnes. I would like to see Barnes be utilized in that aspect of somehow. But that's something the Lions don't have is we don't have that linebacker who can stand up and rush the passer, so the defense don't know where he's coming from.
He's basically TJ Hutchinson is a basically young TJ Watt, in my opinion, because he plays just like him. He has that same kind of style. He has to learn to get to the quarterback a lot better than TJ Watt can do that. He can't. He's not reached that success yet.
The one thing I love about the Watt brothers, motors. Those dudes have unstoppable motors.
It's another thing that Hutchinson has.
They never turn off the motor. It's going 24/7 all the time. That's why they're so relentless at getting to the quarterback and getting sacks and all that because they never give up on the play.
Yeah, TJ Watt is a good ass / linebacker. What'd you say, Jay?
I'm hoping our rookie defensive end and Ahmed Hussein is able to have that same type of motor.
I mean, that was one of the big things they said about him. He does have a good motor.
Now, if it was traded here, why wouldn't it be to Detroit? First of all, they ain't going to trade him to another AFC team if they trade him. Yeah. You can guarantee that. You think you want to see TJ Watt and Myles Garrett in the same year? No, I don't think you want to do that. No. He ain't going to he ain't going anywhere in the AFC. I don't know why you don't think he would go to Detroit.
Yeah,
Jay, another point about the motor for Ahmed. If you don't have a motor and you line up next to Aiden Hutchinson every time and you watch him work out and all that, you're going to develop a motor because you're not going to let some guy try to outshine you all the time. Like he's going to get better with his motor. I'm not saying he doesn't have a motor. He has a great motor. But if he lacked a motor, just train with Aiden Hutchinson and you'll develop your motor.
Yeah,
that guy's.
I'm hoping that Ahmed Hussein. I'm hoping he's able to at least just be able to keep up, able to get pressures. I'm not expecting him to go out and get 10+ sacks this season.
No, just give us about 8 sacks, man. Just give us and give us 8 sacks.
You talking about Ladarius?
No, Ahmed.
Well, and that's another thing about both Hendrickson and Ladarius. They both don't have that motor now. I think Hendrickson has a better motor than Ladarius. That's obvious. He got 17.5 sacks last year. 100%. But then again, he was and on top of it, he was the more focal point in the defense because they didn't have any defense last year at Cincinnati. And the push comes to shove, that's the reason why they lost a lot of their games too. That defense couldn't hold nobody. But Trey, he just doesn't have the motor that TJ Watt has.
Oh no,
that's why I would choose him over him.
And Watt is more athletic than Trey Hendricks. He can do a lot more.
Absolutely.
Washington first.
You don't need no damn Scary Terry either. You need Scary Terry for it. How many weapons does Aaron Rodgers need? Aaron Rodgers on a Green Bay team that only had one guy was Avante Adams, and the rest of them were trash receivers.
You just paid DK Metcalf. How do you say you need Scary Terry?
You don't need Scary Terry. You got Roman Wilson over there.
Robbie's playing Madden right now. That's what
he's doing.
All right. Anything else before we talk about the fight bracket? All right.
That was it for my spiel.
All right. What we got? So we're talking about the fight bracket. So we basically one day thought, Dan Campbell could probably kick any coach's ass in the NFL.
Which we knew.
And we're like, you know what? who would be a good competitor against him, or what coaches will just get their ass kicked all the time, you know? So we decided to have some fun with this. So show it, B. I'll turn it to you.
All right, so this is gonna be a little weird because it might be small.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. Here we go.
Oh, it is small. Yeah, I can't see that.
So this is. I'm sorry if this is a little small. You might want to blow this up to anybody out there viewing. So these are the candidates that we have so far. I had to add some. I did have a criteria, but people were crying about the other stuff. So, because they didn't have their coach in there. So first of all, I got D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans from Texas. He's a head coach for Texas. He was a linebacker in the NFL for a few years. He is 6'1", 247, and his age is 40. So far, we've got 31% voting for him. Dan Campbell, of course, head coach for the Lions. He was a tight end in the NFL for so many years. He's 6'5", 265 pounds. His age is 49. He's got 31%. Don't pay homage to this next guy because I don't know where this 1% comes from. I don't know, somebody just threw a booger on there or whatever. Doug Peterson, Jacksonville's head coach, was a quarterback in the NFL for Green Bay, as a matter of fact, for a minute. He is 6'3", 222 pounds, and he is 57 years old. And, of course, we have Antonio Pierce from the Las Vegas Raiders as the head coach. He was a linebacker for the Giants for years. 6'1", huh? Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I need to take him off. Thank you, because I can do that.
Yeah. They got old Pete. I forgot. Yeah, they got the guy with Pete Carroll will kick some ass.
All right, so then we got Jim Harbaugh, who's the Chargers head coach. He was a quarterback for the University of Michigan, of course. We all know that, Jay. And he was also quarterback for the Chargers, and he was a quarterback most famously for the Bears. He was 6'3". He's 6'3", 215 pounds, but he's 61 years old. Mike Vrabel, who I think is going to be a comparable match to Dan Campbell, is the head coach for the Patriots. He was a linebacker for the Patriots. He's 6'4", 261 pounds, and he is also 49 years old, as well as Dan Campbell. Wow. Then we have Aaron Glenn, who is the Jets head coach. He was a cornerback for the Jets. He is 5'9", 183 pounds, age 52. He's actually 3 years older than Dan Campbell. That's Kevin crazy. O'Connell, believe it or not, was an NFL quarterback. He played. Yeah. He's a head coach for the Vikings. He's 6'5", 225 pounds, and he is 40 years old. He was actually the Lions signed him to the practice squad, and they let him go. He played on the Patriots. That's where he got some of his playing time with the Patriots. Todd Bowles, again, he was a safety for the Redskins. He's a head coach for the Buccaneers. He is 6'2", 203 pounds, and he is 61 years old. And Kellen Moore, Saints head coach. He was also a quarterback in the NFL for some years. He's 6 feet, 200 pounds, 36 years old. He was quarterback mostly for the Dallas Cowboys. He did go on some stints for some other teams, but it was shorter stints than he was with the Cowboys. He was a backup quarterback, I believe, with the Cowboys when Tony Romo was there, I think. Mike Tomlin doesn't have any football experience. A lot of people, he was a cornerback, but that was for college. His Steelers, he's a head coach for the Steelers, obviously, 5'8", 187 pounds. He's 53 years old. Sean McDermott, again. Now, what I got from Monkey and Sabrina, who are two Bills fans, is that he was a wrestler in college. So we'll give him some credit for that. He is 6'4", 250 pounds, and he is 48 years old.
6'4"?
Yeah.
Short as hell. Wow.
Raheem Morris. Well, that's what I got from his stats. Raheem Morris, from the Falcons head coach. I put him on here because somebody thought that would be good. He is 6'2", 200 pounds, and 48 years old as well. Now, there could be more added on here, but the voting won't stop until 2 Fridays from now. So not this week, but the next week. the voting will stop that Friday.
So who's the leader in the clubhouse right now?
Right now it's a tie between D'Amico Ryans and Dan Campbell.
That'd be a good fight. I would like to see those two fight.
Mike Vrabel is second, and Sean McDermott is third so far.
What? Sean McDermott?
Younger.
Yeah. Well, you know the Buffalo fans got to get on there.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody worried about Sean McDermott. Come on now.
Yeah.
Nobody worried about Sean McDermott.
So let's see. Let me get to some comments here. Brett was laughing.
I want to ask you a trivia question.
Let me get to some of these comments first.
Okay,
Robbie says Steelers lack offensively. Why not get more offensive? They don't lack offensively. I don't know what you're talking about. They did last year, but they don't this year. They got a good quarterback.
We'll see how it works with DK Metcalf and George Pickens being swapped out.
Mike Vrabel crushes them all. Good.
Aaron Rodgers.
Maybe.
You never know.
I think so. I think that it'll be a tie between D'Amico Ryans and Vrabel.
Monkey said, if you pick a quarterback, you're retarded. No, that's right. I wouldn't pick a quarterback for this match.
No, not against Dan Campbell. That's for sure.
MCDC in the octagon. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn stands no chance. No, he's a cornerback. He probably don't.
Yeah,
no.
Give him a bunch of give him his coffee special and he'll kick your ass.
Oh, he's 6'0". I'm just going by what they gave me, man. I don't know that for a fact. So I
know people lie about their size. It happens.
I googled.
Come on.
He probably is taller than that.
I have a quick
than
question
5'3" or whatever the hell he is.
What do you got, Jay? What you got?
Where did Kellen Moore go to school and what team picked
Boise
him up?
State.
Yep.
Yeah. With the Boise
What
State.
team picked him up? What professional football team?
The Lions.
Detroit Lions. Undrafted free agent, man. That was
Come on, man. That was easy. I knew that already.
I wanted him to get a chance to actually start when he
didn't have the arm strength, bro.
Because I'm like, man, at that time I couldn't stand Stafford.
He was like Chad Pennington, man. He was very limited arm strength.
I mean, I think he was good though. I mean, he was good. He wasn't great. I mean, obviously I know that now, but you know, that was just a little thought of mine. Just a little thought, that's all.
So, like I said, everybody that's listening and tuning in here, go ahead and go on to the Facebook page, Football for Us Jackoffs. If you haven't signed up or been a member on there, go ahead and go on. I think everybody that's on this chat is on there. Go ahead and vote for who you want. If you want me to put a person on there, I'll put a person on there. Just remember, it's the top 4 people that get to go to the fight ring. And no, it's homerism because it's Dan Campbell. Yes, to a point.
I think a lot of people pick Dan Campbell.
It's still a voter's choice. So I know we got some Vrabel fans out there, Ryan.
Vrabel would be interesting.
Vrabel, I think Vrabel would be the best match for Dan. Yeah, I think those two would go head to head. I really do. And I can't. And I couldn't give you a definite with them two. I couldn't give you a definite who was going to win because those are some big boys. Them big boys.
I'm actually going to throw somebody in there that nobody's mentioned. I think Sean McVay could hold his own maybe with Dan. That'd be interesting. Sean McVay's a big dude.
Is a pencil.
He's not the tallest guy, but dude, he's jacked. He's jacked, man.
Sean McVay is a pencil, man. He didn't even play any football.
Yeah, he did. He beat out Calvin Johnson in high school football.
Yeah.
That's high school football, dude. I'm talking about
you beat out Calvin Johnson. You're pretty damn good.
That's because everybody else is an idiot. That's why. Anyway, where's Sean McVay and where's Calvin Johnson? Thank you. Anyway.
Sorry, Brian Callahan.
Brian Callahan?
Shopping center?
That's Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer.
Who's Callahan? Callahan's not even a coach.
Yeah, for the Titans.
Yeah, he's a coach. If he has playing
he's like McDaniels, man. He was the nerd.
What about Mike McDonald? He looked like a rough dude.
Mike McDonald? No, he wasn't. He hasn't played any. He didn't play any professional football.
Oh, he didn't play professional ball.
But I mean, I could put him on there. That's not the point. I can put him on there. I was just going by a criteria at first.
Have y'all seen the movie Little Giants?
I mean, everybody could be on there, but I'd rather have people tell me to put them on there, so that way we ain't putting 32 coaches on there for no reason.
Have y'all seen the movie Little Giants?
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel's the guy with the suspenders, the annexation of Puerto Rico. That's him. The nerd.
So I don't know what his height or weight is, McVay. Let's see. I'll find out in a minute.
6'2", like 6'2". I don't know.
I mean, Kevin O'Connell is 6'5", but he's
crazy.
only 222. Yeah, he's only 222 pounds though. They got him by pounds right there.
Dan 6'5", right?
Yep, 6'5", 265 pounds.
God, he could be a lineman. He could be like a defensive end. Shit.
Well, and this is the reason why I think they would make a good. I think that they would make a good fight because tight ends have to block linebackers a lot of times.
True.
And Dan wasn't always out there going to get the ball. That was not his forte. They show highlights of him catching balls, but that was not his forte.
And 90% of his game was blocking.
Right. And Vrabel was a linebacker. So that tells you all you need to know there. He had to go and try to get the quarterback, try to cover anybody, the tight end. So
he ran through Pepper's face. I ain't gonna say the word, but Dan Campbell, he would get to the ball.
Vrabel's an interesting candidate because he wasn't the biggest dude, but he was pretty quick for his size.
So they have him listed as 5 foot 10 inches and 185 pounds for McVay.
What?
Wow. Really? Yeah. Yep.
I thought he was taller. How the hell was that one coach 6'4"? How is McDermott 6'4", dude?
I do gotta check that out.
The guy looks like a midget.
Hey, Monkey, how tall is if you're still watching, how tall is McDermott? How tall? Because you would know because you're a Buffalo Bill fan. I saw it on there at 6'4", 250, but being a wrestler, he's probably a lot slimmer than that. And I think Sabrina said, the other Buffalo Bill person said that he was a little bit smaller than that. So I don't know. I don't know the exact weight and height of. I'm just going by what the internet provided me. So
what do you think? What do you? Let's talk some wrestling here. What do you think Dan's move would be if we could guess?
He doesn't fight. He chews kneecaps.
Hey, that's all you need. You chew somebody kneecaps in a fight. More than likely,
go low. Go low. Kick their ass.
I want to tell you something, Robbie. I want you.
Come on, Robbie.
I want to tell you something, Robbie. I want you to go up there and tell him that you can't fight. You just shoot and see how fast you got to run to get away from him. Exactly. That's what I always tell him. When he pisses me off, I always say that. I'm gonna go up there and slap Dan Campbell, run like hell.
Run like hell. You know what actually would be a really good fight. Actually, would be in our own house. Brad Holmes and Dan going at it. Brad Holmes has got some. He's a defensive.
You pay attention to everything else. Why don't you pay attention to your coach? You up here defending his ass, so what? Just pay attention to his height and weight.
Him and Brad would be a good fight because those two guys are crazy.
Don't be a wussy.
Don't be a wussy.
You try right now.
Mr. Robbie, I don't want to be that guy, but I know you don't want to do that.
No.
You don't want to do that.
You won't live to see the next day.
The Yinzers need to stay in Pittsburgh. You need to stay in Pittsburgh, brother, with the rest of the Yinzers.
Robbie, if you want to do that, just kick his cans. Then yeah.
I'm thinking he's about that tall too, Robbie.
Yeah, he's got to be at least 6.
He's got to be.
He 6'4". The hell with that.
Yeah, I thought Sabrina should know.
If you pull up the coach's picture of all the coaches when they took the annual meeting, you don't look that tall.
Yeah, and I don't. And it's
hell no.
Understand why Wikipedia, if they're a part of football, you should have height and weight, no matter if you're a coach or not. I mean, it's all part of the sport. So I don't know why they don't never list that. I gotta go for Sean McVay again.
I'll give you one guy who I think might surprise a lot of people in a fight. And it's only because I've seen him get really pissed and he's kind of scared me a little bit. Brian Dable. That guy looks like he fucking could kick some ass.
Well, I mean, anybody can sit on your ass. You could put Reed in there. He can sit on you.
How tall is Reed? Kool-Aid. How tall is Kool-Aid?
I don't know. See, it still ain't giving. This one just gives me his height. Where did I find his weight at? Oh, that's because I was on here. Yeah, Pro Talk has him at 6'4" and 2. Pro Football Reference has him at 6'4" and 250.
Damn.
But this,
he's almost as tall as his quarterback. His quarterback's like 6'5".
There's a Sean McDermott that's a tight end. That's why. Oops. Okay. So he is probably smaller than that.
Who do you think would lose a fight the quickest?
Yeah, that's what. But you know what? He's a tight end, Monkey. That's what I just saw on the pro thing. He's a tight end. They got him on there as a tight end. 6'4".
Who do you think would lose
a tight end? That is Sean McDermott.
What coach do you think would go down like a sack of potatoes?
Y'all gonna kill me for this, man.
What?
I think Campbell would be one of them, bro. You know some stuff
that go down like a sack of potatoes.
Crazy.
No, dog. You smoking over there. Yeah. And that shouldn't be a surprise because you were the one that picked. You were the one that picked D'Amico Ryan. Yeah,
I have to keep quiet due to certain things, but yeah.
Get off
Ryan.
I think he can knock a lot of them down, but when it comes to like maybe Vrabel and D'Amico Ryans, I think that's where it ends. I think that's where it is.
Rhea's gonna eat you before you fight. Get in my bed.
That is messed up, right?
Kool-Aid, right there.
No,
if you're talking about eating, that's McDaniel.
No, I don't even think
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Andy Reid. Remember what Travis Kelce did to Andy Reid when he was pushing him and yelling in his face?
He didn't move very much.
Look at Pro Football Reference, Monkey. That's where I saw he was a tight end.
Who
there is a tight end named Sean McDermott.
Who would win a fight between the Harbaugh brothers?
I think John would win.
I think John
just seemed like the more mature one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's still big bro.
I think John's taller, or Jim's taller.
Get that out of the way. John is taller too. That's still big bro.
Oh, Jim and John Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Isn't Jim the oldest?
No, it's John.
Jim is the oldest one, isn't he?
No, I think Jim's the oldest.
Is he really? I thought it was John Harbaugh.
Yeah, he's been playing for a minute. He played for a minute in football, man.
Yeah, Harbaugh. Harbaugh is the oldest one. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim
is the oldest one.
Okay,
yeah, I think I was playing like back in the day for the Colts.
And on top of it, if he's the older,
John is the oldest. John is 64.
John 64?
62. No, he's 62.
Yeah. How old's Jim?
Jim is 60.
He's 61.
So they're 1 year apart. I still think John will kick his ass.
I think John will kick his ass,
yeah.
Nah,
Jim looks older than 64, 61, 62. He's had some miles on him.
It's not homerism. Campbell would kick Tomlin's ass.
Oh, dude, he would kick everybody's ass.
I gotta go with the brother, man. I don't know.
Even if I wasn't a Lions fan, I picked Dan Campbell to kick everybody's ass.
You go ahead and go with the brother all you want. That brother can get his ass kicked. That's all that's going to come to it.
I don't know, bro. I think low-key, I think Tomlin can fight.
Contact the Raiders about Connell.
Aiden O'Connell.
Interesting. Aiden McConnell's interesting because,
Where did you hear that on, Brett? Because I haven't seen that at all.
I haven't seen anything about that.
I'm sure some people have pitched the idea about Adrian McConnell. I mean, if he gets released,
kind of tells me that people don't like Hooker like that anymore.
I agree. I think people are done with Hooker, man.
And that's unfortunate too, because we really haven't seen his potential. I want to see his potential.
I want to see him throw the ball. Tired of seeing these run plays.
We'll see a lot of that this season, though. This offseason.
I hope so.
We're going to see a lot.
McConnell wouldn't be a bad backup. I think he's got some game.
That don't mean nothing. We eat kneecaps. So don't eat them steel plates too.
Shoot. Mike Tomlin's what, like 6 foot? Dan Campbell's 6'5".
Tomlin maybe in his younger day might have been some competition for him, but Tomlin is up there in age too.
Just imagine Dan. Just imagine Dan his prime.
Yeah,
life.
I'm sure every one of these people that we have on here will scrap. I don't give I just think
But just imagine Dan in his prime of his life, like when he was jacked up and even bigger than he is now. That's a scary man to think about. Like Jay said, he's kind of lost a little bit. I'm like, how much did he lose? Guy's still 6'5" and 260. Shoot.
I mean, he looks like that at 49. I'm 56. I look like the opposite of Dan. So I mean, he's the only I try to do things right. You know what I'm saying? But he's up there.
He's the only
coach. The dude does up and down. He does up downs at freaking practice. He leads all of the.
I love that.
I don't see too many coaches doing that.
A lot of players respect him because he does that. I guarantee you.
And he goes to the weight room too. He lifts weights with the players.
Oh yeah, remember that video he said? He's like, I don't work out with the guys because they make fun of me or something like that, or I'll shine them, so I go work out in my house. That's what he said.
LTL last. Okay. I gotta look that up. Yeah, because I didn't really see anything. But yeah, thanks for that info. That's interesting.
All right, Jay, we got about 10 minutes or so wrapping it up. So we got the You Mad Bros segment here. What are you mad about, man?
Let me turn my.
Yeah, turn his head around.
Yeah, let me turn my hat backwards really quick. So, on today's section of Why You Mad is I'm mad because John Jones, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's
one of the best
retired
fighters
from the UFC. Yeah. And he done so, I wouldn't say gracefully, but he retired. He said he'd been contemplating retirement for a long time. He's been in the UFC for 17 years. I remember I was watching him in high school, and I was like, man, this guy is good. So one thing that I am mad about is people are upset that John Jones chose to retire instead of fight Tom Aspinall. Now, while Tom Aspinall is the interim champ and the right thing to do would have been to fight the interim champ to unify the heavyweight title, John Jones has made it very clear when he came back from his 3-year hiatus when he stopped after he fought Dominic Reyes. He said he planned up to move to heavyweight to go fight Francis Ngannou, who in return had gotten injured, and he had to sit out. So he came back, he fought for the vacant heavyweight title, and he beat Cyril Gane. And when he beat Cyril Gane, right after he called out Stipe Miocic, who was considered the greatest heavyweight of all time in the UFC, and everybody was cheering for it, everybody was loving it, but as soon as John Jones got injured, Tom Aspinall had to fight for the interim title fight. He fought Sergey Plavkovich, a guy who was up and coming, Russian dude. I mean, he was just knocking folks out left and right. So when Tom Aspinall got that fight, everybody just seemed to forget about the negotiations the UFC had already intact for John Jones and Stipe Miocic. Now, I'm online and I see all of these fans who probably never been in a fight ever in their life talking about John Jones is scared. He's a duck. He did everything he could to duck Tom Aspinall, when in reality, John Jones said, man, I got a couple fights left in me. I want to fight all legends, all champions. Now, whether you think it was right or wrong, he needed to fight the interim champ. He did what he wanted to do. Dana White gave him that power to do what he wanted to do. Hunter gave him the power to do what he wanted to do. John Jones isn't ducking anybody. He's beat the best of the best. He's beaten 3 generations of fighters, from Mauricio Shogun Rua to Daniel Cormier to Thiago Santos, Dominic Reyes, Cyril Gane.
That dude's a legend in his own right.
Legends and legends and legends. And
did he fight McGregor? Did he fight McGregor ever?
No. Well, Conor McGregor started out in featherweight, then he fought lightweight, and then he had a fight against Donald Cerrone in the
those are like the two arguably the biggest names in UFC is McGregor and John Jones. So
McGregor is definitely a big name. Definitely a big name, but I mean, John Jones has done everything he possibly could. Now, has he been a role model citizen? Absolutely not. No, but he's a fighter. A guy who breaks people's arms.
I am not a mentor.
He's a scrapper. He's a scrapper, man. He's scrapping.
You don't need him to be a role model citizen. Whatever he does allegedly in his personal life, you keep it there. But what he does in the octagon, that's what we base off. Well, that's what we judge him off of.
Yep.
And I'm upset because, John Jones, he have the most title defenses. He's the youngest champion ever, been in the most title fights. And people are calling him scared. You do not be a scared person fighting against legends who can knock you out and end you and shut your lights out in minutes, seconds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think also too the reason why people are calling him scared or saying that is because they're disappointed. The fact is that he's not going to be fighting anymore, and he's one of the big names in UFC, and so now that he's retiring, and people are like, well, hell, who are we going to cheer for? You know,
exactly, and people wanted to see him lose, like when Khabib Nurmagomedov retired from the UFC after his dad passed away. A lot of people were upset, like, oh, he dug George St. Pierre, didn't go to welterweight. You know, some people fight, they just want to end things. They know when their time is up. They know when they need to retire. I mean, when did John Jones have to win fighting Tom Aspinall? Because a couple years ago when Cyril Gane fought John Jones for the heavyweight title, people were saying this is going to be John Jones' toughest fight ever because he sat out, he had ring rust, he's going up to a heavier weight class, going up against the #1 contender in the UFC division, and then John Jones beat him within maybe a minute or two. He subbed him. You know, now there's another up-and-comer in Tom Aspinall, and they're like, well, I mean, you know, he needs to fight for the interim champ. While I understand that the UFC already had negotiations to do other things. And for anybody to criticize his legacy and say he dug this person or he lost or he's fighting older fighters, John Jones has done literally everything the UFC has ever asked him to do. He's put his body on the line. He put his mental state on the line. He's done every single thing they asked him to do and entertained us for almost 2 decades, I might add. So it's always good to appreciate the fighters you have now in your life. The ones that you see fighting now for championships or even fighting just for the hell of it, like Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira lost last night against Ilia Topuria. That was a nasty KO. And it was like, I thought about something. Charles Oliveira is 35, 36 years old, 34, 35-ish, somewhere around that area. Nobody's calling him old, though, right, for UFC. And he's been in the UFC since, 2008, 2009 he made his debut. And nobody's calling him old. Everybody's giving Ilia Topuria the due respect he gets because he knocked out Charles Oliveira. Now, whether John Jones came in and fought a young Shogun Rua, an old Shogun Rua, or Daniel Cormier, Rampage, Rashad Evans, he still beat legends. People who were at the top of their division and champions at that time. I think that you don't fight anybody else if they're not the champion and you're running through the whole division, right? I think anybody would agree with me that knows about fighting. So let's appreciate these fighters now. Let's give them their flowers now, man, because they're doing something that maybe only 5% of the 3 to 4 billion people we have on this earth could do. And that's be top level fighters, the best fighters in the world. You know
what, Jay? You wouldn't even have this conversation if this was 20 years ago because you know why? No social media.
Exactly.
Social media is killing everything. Yeah, and everybody got an opinion about something. Yes. And the guy that he was supposed to fight, he retired. He's a champion anyway. He's an undisputed champion. He was made the undisputed champion because John Jones retired. So
thank you.
Who gives a flying F?
You know, Tom Aspinall. Everybody's like, well, he should be.
And another thing too, B. I'll add that all this about social media.
Shut your mouth, Robbie. No, he's not. He's done.
Yeah, right. He killed Jake Paul.
Shut your mouth, Robbie.
So here's the thing.
He's gonna wait until he gets to be about 51, 52 years old. And then
here's the social
Jake
media.
Paul does.
Right. Here's the social media aspect of it too, is the players get sucked into what people say.
Sure do.
You know, and when you're that good, like John Jones, like I said, he's one of the faces of UFC along with McGregor. Like, who gives a crap what people say? Like, dude, you cannot be that sensitive to what people say. Who gives a shit? You want to go beat him up? Go beat him up.
That sensitive about. I don't think he's being sensitive.
But he doesn't have to answer to anybody about what he wants to do. Like Jay says, you want to retire? Retire. Go do your thing, man.
Right.
We enjoyed it. We'll move on to somebody else. But dude, you don't have to answer to anybody else. Like,
no, you don't have to answer to them. And it's crazy because people are like, he was doing a lot of interviews, whether it may have been with the Nelk Boys or whoever. They're like, well, what do you got to do to fight, Tom Aspinall? He said, man, we were never even in negotiations to fight, to talk about a fight with Aspinall. And Aspinall is good. He could very well much be one of the greatest fighters ever, but we won't know until he actually starts.
How old is Aspinall?
Aspinall is 29, 30.
Oh, wow. 30.
Okay. And I heard people say, well, you look at Khabib or you look at Demetrius Johnson, they gave fights to the younger generation. Yeah, they did. They also, I'd say not Khabib. Khabib, he definitely won. He was 29-0 when he retired. But look at Demetrius Johnson. He got his ass whipped by Henry Cejudo. You know what I mean? His time is up. You know, and he went over to one championship and he dominated over there. But in the UFC, it's different. And
is Aspinall the next face of the UFC?
I would say yes and no. The next faces of the UFC, people like Ilia Topuria, the guy who just knocked out Charles Oliveira last night. I mean, he's a 2-division champ. He's undefeated. He's knocked out already 3 legends. Ilia Topuria, yeah. I'd say Tom Aspinall. I'd also say people like Islam Makhachev, Jack Della Maddalena. Those are like kind of the young guys that you see that get a little bit more buzz. And Islam Makhachev, for sure, he moved up to the welterweight division to fight Jack Della Maddalena here very soon. And, you know, they're talking about he's scared and he's ducking Ilya. Man, Islam, he fights with the greatest of the great. He's trained by Khabib. He was trained by his father, Abdullah Nurmagomedov. They're not scared. They're professional fighters. This is what they do. You know, if you're scared to fight somebody, you're not going to fight, period. You're not going to go against somebody that can shut
you shouldn't be a fighter if you're scared. Let's just say that. That's the last thing in your mind if you're a fighter.
And you know, so, and in fact, if they were scared, I think that would motivate them a little bit more to go and fight them to see how far they can go, to push their limits, to get over that fear, because they want to be the greatest of all time.
That's why I want to attach that anger to Jake Paul too, because that motherfucker, he don't fight nobody. He fights older people at the end of their career. He fights people that are on the internet. Come on, dude. You ain't no fighter. Fight somebody real. How about that?
Man. Yeah, dude.
You're a joke.
I won't even speak on Jake Paul, but let's start. Can you say that name? Which one? Jack Della Maddalena or Islam Makhachev?
I think it was a Jack Della Maddalena. I was like, how the hell did he?
Yeah, he's
just by the way, for the viewers,
that ain't my strong suit.
For the viewers, Jay is very expert in UFC. He loves UFC. All his videos on his Facebook are UFC
all the time.
Yes, he is your expert when it comes to UFC. So
main cards, whatever.
Yeah, he's a UFC guy.
But really quick, just to conclude this, because I know we're getting out of here. But quit calling these fighters scared. Give them respect because they're doing something that you would not be able to do. You're sitting on the couch spectating. Let's just appreciate greatness while we have it here.
And if you're John Jones, just go kick it. If you're John Jones, just go kick everybody's ass. That talks mess.
Jack something. Jack something.
Della Maddalena.
Let's see.
Jack Della.
Here's the thing about fighters or people that criticize fighters. Most of the people that criticize fighters never fought in their life.
Never.
So the reality is that you won't say this to them face to face. You'll say it over a screen. You'll say it over a phone or a text or something like that, but you won't say it to their face because if you say it to your face is going to be punched in. So
absolutely.
Robbie, Dan Campbell.
Exactly. Yeah, I would not fuck with Dan Campple.
Hell no.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you, Jay, for that. That was a good one. I like that.
Yep.
Good communication.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I didn't know a lot about John Jones. I mean, I've heard of him because they talk about him on First Take sometimes.
Man.
I do have one question. Since you are the UFC guy, I heard this word, and I want to know what it means. Grappling. What the heck is that in UFC?
Like grappling wrestling. You know what I mean? Whether it may be jiu-jitsu.
This is a fancy word for wrestling?
Yeah, clinch.
Okay.
Jiu-jitsu, the wrestling.
I always thought grappling was like climbing or something like that.
Yeah, no. Grappling is y'all wrestling. It can be in jiu-jitsu, it can be fucking judo, like you grab.
Dude, I can't watch those events because the last time I watched it, Conor McGregor broke his leg.
Oh, that was bad.
That was
That's
bad
when he fought Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Now I've seen that fight too. That was in 2021 too.
It's too brutal.
I think that was in 22. That was in 21. So he went for a leg kick on Dustin Poirier, and I don't know if it broke upon impact when Dustin Poirier checked his kick or when he landed awkwardly. I can't tell you, but I just know he went for the kick. Dustin Poirier checked, and as soon as he planted that foot, it snapped. That leg snapped.
All I know is I've never seen a fight being built up so quickly, so much, only to last 2 seconds.
And Dustin Poirier is 2-1 against the notorious Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier is 2-1 against him. Hey, Diamond. He's about to fight too. I want to say it's July 17th. He's fighting Max Holloway. And
I'm telling you, Jay needs his own show with the UFC thing.
Yeah, dude,
he is into that.
He gets amped up. He gets amped up. Let's go.
I love it, bro. It's crazy.
All right. Well, thank you for the insight on that, Jay.
Yeah.
If anybody wants more information, message Jay about UFC. Get your bets on. He'll tell you who to pick and who not to pick. All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this puppy up.
Stream number 1.
What's up, King?
Yeah.
My brother. That's my brother right there. That's my little brother.
What's up, man?
Okay.
How you doing? Thanks for
bro. What's up, man?
So real quick, we're just gonna go to some housekeeping items. So we will not have a show next week because it is 4th of July. Everybody, enjoy the fireworks. Don't pop fireworks and burn your hand off like Jason Paul Pierre. Don't do that or lose fingers. So everybody be safe. We will have our next show the week after that. That would be the 13th.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to have, similar to what this show was, we'll have some topics to talk about, but also too, we're gonna do our fight thing.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
We have some topics to talk about. I want to give a shout out to the Mad Yensa, Robbie, Kevin the Monkey, Sonia for sharing our stuff. Brent, man.
Shout out, Brent.
Appreciate you, man.
And of course, Keem Stream 1, which is Jay's little bro.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna call you soon, my man. Just give me a second.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, guys?
No, sir.
No, just everybody just be safe out there this coming up holiday weekend, and go Lions as always.
Yep. And as always, fuck the Whackers, fuck the Bears, fuck the Vikings. Yeah,
go Lions, baby.
Yeah, be safe, have fun, and we'll see you on the other side in 2 weeks.
Peace.
One ass cheek, 3 toes, we coming for the throne. Detroit Lions roar, ain't no stopping our zone. From Ford Field to the streets, we represent the pride. One ass cheek, 3 toes, we on the rise. Gibbs making plays, electrifying the game. J-Mo and Laporta catching bombs, putting points on the name. Penny holding it down, protecting the line. McNair bringing the pressure every single time. One ass cheek, 3 toes, we coming for the throne. Detroit Lions roar, ain't no stopping our zone. From Ford Field to the streets, we represent the pride. One ass cheek, 3 toes, we on the rise. We ain't backing down, ain't no fear in our eyes. We hungry for that win, we reaching for the skies. Detroit Lions forever, that's the battle cry. One ass cheek, 3 toes to the day we die.